My name is Nicole. Feel free to call me MJ. I'm the founder of Pretty Girls Get Sick. I am here with Krystle. So she is one of my features. I have been wanting to meet with Krystle for a while. It's been a few months. We are way overdue to meet, but I feel like I've been following your journey for several months. We met on Instagram. We have many friends in common, and I'm just excited that I'm getting the chance to be able to have like this conversation with you. So, from right now, can you just share your name, your hometown, and where you're living now? And we'll just get into touching on your chronic illness and the things that you're dealing with.
Sure. So I'm Krystle Irby. I'm 31 years old. I'm primarily from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, mainly the Maryland area. And right now I'm living in Waldorf, Maryland.
I love Maryland.
Yeah,
I'm an East Coast girl myself, but now, I'm living in Texas, and so that's real different, but I love the East Coast.
definitely.
So what chronic illness are you living with right now? And can you just tell me a little bit about your journey and your diagnosis?
So what I have is polymyositis. The technical term is necrotizing myopathy. To be completely honest, because this is all so new to me, I was officially diagnosed with the necrotizing myopathy, but polymyositis is easier to repeat to everyone and just kind of say over and over again. So I kind of stuck with that. To be completely honest, though, as far as diagnosis, I've read so many different stories, and my story don't really align with others. Like a lot of people had a hard time with getting diagnosed and trying to find out what this was. For me, this happened really, really fast. Diagnosis happened really, really fast. Me getting help happened very, very fast. Like the process happened within like a month for me.
So
It happened really, really fast.
you were diagnosed within a month. You know,
I I went to the hospital in January, and then I was hospitalized. Yeah, and I got my results for the biopsy in February. Yep, a month.
yeah. So it's interesting that you say that because I also have polymyositis, which is a rare autoimmune condition, and necrotizing. Say it again.
I
Myopathy.
know, right?
It's so
Necrotizing
funny because I know.
myopathy.
Say it again.
Necrotizing myopathy.
There we go. My story is completely different as far as with polymyositis. Like I just got sick one day and I just never got better when it took me about almost 3 years to be diagnosed.
Wow.
It amazes me, and I think it's a great thing, right? But it amazes me when I see people like you who say like I got diagnosed within the month. I went through so much time of being misdiagnosed with many different things and thinking
Mhm.
this, and then it turned out to be that. Several. You said you went through one biopsy, and you knew I had like several biopsies.
Wow.
Still didn't reveal polymyositis until I had one in my where I got a biopsy in my left leg, and
Yeah.
that's the one where they said, okay, it's polymyositis. So,
Hmm.
you know, I wish that I wonder if I had like a quicker diagnosis at times. I wonder if I would have been able to turn it around. But then it's kind of like everyone you meet and the way myositis, because there's so many different myositises, and
Hmm.
one story is completely different.
Right.
What were your symptoms that brought you to the hospital, if you don't mind sharing?
So it's easier to kind of explain now because back then I didn't know what it was. Like I don't know what to call this. But the symptoms were, first of all, I was hurting from the neck down. Like I was in pain from the neck down to my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started walking slower. It got harder to climb the stairs. Then it was harder to raise my arms. And even though I was still able to do it, my hand was shaped like this, like that. And I'm like,
Like when
what's
you reach,
going on? So I thought maybe because
out,
we had different.
shake. Like when you reach out your arm, you start to shake.
Well, back then when it first started, now I can't even reach out unless I kind of help myself, you know. but now I don't, it's kind of nothing there right now. But yeah, the weakness in the arms, the weakness in the legs, and it just being painful from the neck down. Those are the first things. Oh, and a bunch of inflammation in my legs. They blew up bad.
Your legs blew up.
They were big. They were full of fluid.
Yeah, I did have that. I did have
Yes.
like the fluid, but it was in one leg. And we thought it was an infection. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it kept going like it, I felt like it mimicked many different things. So there was just like I've never heard of polymyositis or any type of myositis before that. So it was very foreign to me when they finally told me. It was just like, I'm glad I know, but like what the heck is that? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
what are you talking about, you know what I mean? It was a roller coaster. Um,
Definitely.
so you mentioning about the weakness, the pain, how has it impacted your life now? Um, like how are you coping now? I do you have a good social media platform? I see where I love like how you go about it because I just feel like you're not fake about it. And it doesn't mean because the way you do it, it doesn't mean that someone else is doing it wrong. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
is not so comfortable necessarily opening up and talking about it. It was very sensitive for me to even open. It took me a while to even get to the place where I was just like, I'm going to talk about it. I felt like I needed to talk about it because I just needed to find all of you. I needed to find my community because I didn't feel like there was no one out there that was dealing with where I'm looking completely fine. And yet, on paper, and the weakness and not being able to lift my arms, not even being able to like reach in the cupboard for a plate, a lot of the physical things I was able, I could do before I wasn't able to do. And then the pain, the flares. Uh,
Right.
how has it impacted your life um, till now? Like
So
what
now,
what is your day to day?
so well, I have to start off by saying that right now, physically, I'm probably the worst I've ever been. Um, at first it started off with things being difficult to do. So it was hard to go upstairs, but I could still go up slowly, and then I can go up some, and now I can go up none. So at first it was horrible to me because it was new. Like, what is going on? But now that I'm like 2 years in, yeah, I'm the worst off. So right now, honestly, yesterday makes 2 weeks of me being in my bedroom. I cannot get up out of this chair. I cannot reach. I cannot extend. I cannot bend. Honestly, at this point in my life, I can't take care of myself. I just can't. I mean, I have the voice. I have the brains. I'm not like, illiterate. I'm still smart. I can still type because the fingers are not, affected. So I have my computer. I can still work because of this. But the normal day-to-day living activities, I cannot do. So it's honestly it's an emotional roller coaster because it could get very depressing, but it's like, this is my life. Like, what are we gonna do about it? Like, I mean, you're depressed, but now what? What is that gonna do for you? So now that I'm again 2 years in, I've also learned that the depression and the feelings are very, very dangerous because at a long point of time I was in my head. So I just was like, this is it for me. I was so depressed that I would just sit at my desk all day and just work. I would just sit, 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 sit. Well, Krystle, polymyositis is a muscle wasting disease. So if you're not using the muscles, you're going to lose the muscles.
Yeah.
So the little bit of progress or a little bit that I had, I lost it by just being in my head, and stressing myself out. So the battle was a little bit more tougher because, well, for obvious reasons, I have to literally start from the ground up. I can't even get up out of my chair right now.
Do you have help?
So yes, I do have help. I don't have as much as I used to. I guess we can just kind of get into that now. So since I've been diagnosed, no, let me just go back. Before diagnosis, before I even got sick or whatever, I was already in a relationship. I was already engaged. But once I got sick, my fiance was my primary like caretaker, you know. Of course, I didn't plan for this. He didn't plan for this. No one planned for this. But he was the primary caretaker. About 2.5 weeks ago, randomly, you know, I just I was asking him questions like, why when I'm laying on the bed, you don't want to live here? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And long story short, you know, he tells me that he's overwhelmed. And at first I was so offended. Like, I'm his fiance. Like, how, you know, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? But then it took me a few days to just sit there and think, and I'm like, dang, like he's been doing this every day for 2 years, you know, for a long time. I didn't even get up and down the stairs unless he carried me because I just can't do it. You know what I mean? And it's not even just about picking me up out the chair or carrying me up the stairs. We're going to be transparent here. I have used the bathroom on myself, both 1 and 2. I can't clean that up. I have thrown up. I have, you know, tried to kill myself by, you know, eating all these pills and threatening to throw myself down the stairs. This is a lot on not only myself going through it, but how would I feel if I had to see my loved one go through this and I just can't really help? There's nothing no one could do. Like, so to go back to your original question, I say that I don't have as much as I had because we planned for him to go to his parents' house for a break. Long story short, he's not going to be coming back, at least no time soon. So right now, I am kind of depending on my children, my two girls. They're 13. I'm sorry, they're 12 and 16. And that's why, you know, a second ago, she called me because I can't leave my room. I mean, I can get down the stairs with some help, but I'm not going to get back up. And upstairs is where the money is where the shower is where the commode is. I just feel safer here, you know, and it's crazy because it's like, if you know, you know. You know, the average person is just not going to get it. The average person would say, why don't you just try to just do one step? I can't do it. We'll never say can't. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, do you think I don't want to be able to go up the damn steps? I
Yeah.
can't. So
Yeah.
it's very, very frustrating. And this whole disease, it changed a lot. It reveals a lot. You know, it shows who is truly in your corner. I also had to learn to not take it serious because everyone just can't handle it. I had no choice.
Yeah.
Y'all do.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. So
You know, you touched on a couple of things. And I'm sorry about, you know, him moving out. And I truly hope that you both can reconcile and get back to it if that's what's supposed to happen, right?
I believe so.
You know, and I would hope so, if that's what you two truly wanted. Sometimes I feel like you have to look at it on both sides. And again, when a chronic illness, when you get sick and you never was sick before, like you were fine before, and you said like, hey, we were engaged before this happened, and then all of a sudden this happened to me. And there's girls that we have in my Pretty Girls Get Sick group. There's girls that, you know, women that we share in, it's one of Holly Jones's groups where, let's say it again, myositis, women of color.
Mm-hmm.
And she speaks on, you know, those things. And one thing I always said, you know, even though I got married a year ago, you know, I was a single girlie. You know what I mean? So I even though I'm married now, I still have a very much of a soft spot for women with chronic illnesses that are single or, you know,
Right.
necessarily married.
Right.
I feel like it is, I try to think about like what I go through on my hard days. And even with my husband, I was very upfront about it because I was like, there's days I don't want to deal with myself. Like there's
Right.
days where I am just like pissed off. You know, I'm tired all the time. I'm
Yeah.
literally pushing myself to do things. I would say I'm at a, you know, because I've gone through treatments and stuff like that, like I'm at a better state. But you know, you can relapse at any time, but there's still things that I don't have the energy. I pretty much just have my energy just for work because I'm like, I got to keep my insurance. I got to keep things going. So that's the most important thing to do. Everything else could come second. Me hanging out with my friends could come second. Me going to the gym, even though if you don't move it, you lose it. Hey, I'm like, it could come second. Because if I can't, if I'm exhausted, I'm just trying to do what I need to do. And in my job, in my field, it's very stressful. So,
Right.
I'm pretty much burnt out. And I think about like when I don't want to deal with myself, I'm thinking about like, is my partner, because now I'm putting this person, they're going to see a side of me that I don't necessarily always want to share. But
Mm-hmm.
how can you not share it? How can you not see it when they're
Right.
with you?
Right.
You feel for them because we didn't ask for it, but they didn't ask for it. And I do feel like it takes a certain person that's going to say, I'm going to stand with you and we're going to go through this together. Um, but there's times where sometimes, people need a break, what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they just need to see. But like, again, that's a whole other topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whether you're married to someone that's living with a chronic illness and the sensitivity that you have to have, I do feel like sometimes it's even best for them to maybe even go through some counseling themselves,
I
um,
agree.
and to go just to help you because it doesn't just affect it affects them as well.
Yeah.
Are there any misconceptions or misunderstandings you face, like regarding your diagnosis? Like I know, like you said, people will say, and I sometimes I feel like it's coming from a good place, but then
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know, I get highly annoyed. Like when someone says, you could just try to do this, or you could just try to do that. I'm just like, don't you think I've tried that? And but I know that it could be coming from a good place, but at the same time, sometimes I wonder if I make it look easier than what they think.
Right. So I don't really go through too many like misconceptions really. Because honestly speaking, the physical is so bad. Like it's like, what are you really gonna like I'm coming in wheelchairs, I'm using walkers, I can barely walk. So the physical is just what it is. But if you didn't know that I had polymyositis, you couldn't tell me I had anything. I don't look like anything. I don't sound like polymyositis. I don't sound disabled. So the one thing that I go through is trying to get benefits. So to pick up where we left off, the one thing that I go through, Nicole, is trying to get help over the phone. So I kind of assumed that I made too much because I still work full time. So I just assumed that I made too much money for the typical Medicaid, but I had no idea there's a different world out there for the disabled people. You know what I mean? But anyway, now that I'm making calls to get help, I get responses like, okay, so who needs the help? Oh, it's you. So what's wrong with you? Wait, what did you say? What's wrong with you again? So what can't you do? What do you need help with? Like that. And it's
Who are you calling to get the help from?
like the Department of Health,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that, and everyone's not bad, but you know, it's to the point where, I've gotten hung up on once, at one point I was on hold for over 2 hours. Another time when I called to get a status of my application and I needed to know who the caseworker was, they gave me a first, last name, an email address, and a phone number. I couldn't find out that person never worked there in like 5 years. So you guys are just giving me information just to get me off the phone, and it makes me feel like when it comes to the disabled community, do you guys really care? You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I deal with. Like even like I have a life alert. When I call them, they're like, okay, who's the customer? It's like, it's me. I don't know how to sound sick, but they make me feel like, why are you calling? You don't need help, and clearly I do. So that's like my biggest battle. Like I hear what you're saying, but I know what I need, and I have to advocate for myself because who else is going to do it?
Yeah. You said that you still able to work full time. Are you working remote? And that's
Yes.
fine. Yeah, that's definitely, a blessing. You mentioned that you work remote, and I think working remote is a blessing. I've worked remote for a number of years, over 10 years, and I actually started working remote like right when I started getting sick. Like
Wow.
it was like God knew, you know what I mean? And it's hard for me to really work outside that. So even with sometimes when I'm looking for a new job, people are just like, oh, well, get out your comfort zone. You can do this, you can do that. I'm like, first of all, it's not even about a comfort zone. The way that I'm functioning is because I work remote. I have doctor's appointments. I have infusions that I have to do twice a month. I need the flexibility. So me not even knowing how I'm going to wake up day to day. You know what I mean? And even when you wake up in the, you can be fine, but later on that day, I'm probably not fine. I could be going through whatever. I'm going to get more than likely being being somewhere physically. So it's a blessing, but at the same time, it's just like I feel like it puts you in a box. And it's just like sometimes I just need to have things situated the way I need them to be situated in order for me to like live a certain life. And do you find that the same way? Like even when you have health, when you have health benefits, you get benefits from your job. I find that there's still a lot of out of pocket expenses that I need to pay for that my benefits don't pay for just for me to be capable of being independent. You it's the same way.
I do agree, kind of. I say kind of only because it's like we've never been disabled before. Like this is like the first time you've been trying to get you. We only get one life. You know what I'm saying? So I say kind of because it's like there are things out here or resources or whatever out here that could help, but it's like we can't utilize it if we don't know about it. You know, so I have personally come out of pocket for another walker or for stuff in my shower. Like even when it comes to like, I mean, this is probably out of kind of scope, but like even when it comes to a walk-in shower, I did not want to have to finance a shower, you know, but I couldn't find any company to help me. And if you know, you know, I couldn't get in the tub to take a shower, you know what I'm saying? So that was a really, really big piece to me to just get a piece of my independence back. But to go back to your question, I'm like 50-50 on it. But I will say I have spent a lot of money on medical tools, whether it's depends, like a lot of things that are just not covered.
Yeah. And it's even like you said, a lot of the times you don't even know about it because physicians don't tell you that. Your specialists don't
I
really
don't.
like there's
I
a lot
don't.
of things that I found out just by the community.
Yeah.
Resources. I did, when I was diagnosed, I had an amazing rheumatologist, and I would say that I was blessed with a good rheumatologist and neurologist. And they did tell me about a few programs when it came to like infusions, and
Mm-hmm.
treatment. But a lot of other things I had to kind of find out as I went, and it was just by community.
Yep.
I actually found out about like, no, you can go and do this or you can do that. But, even though like I'm not in a wheelchair where yours is a lot, you can see the physical. With me, I never was in a wheelchair. I was weak at one point where I couldn't, necessarily walk, but a picture me, even when it came for me to get my handicap, um, pass for my car, when I walked in, they were looking at me like I didn't belong there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't until I got examined by the doctor that was supposed to approve me, where she was just like, "Oh my God, like you're really, really weak." Um,
Right.
and she, she let it go. So yeah, it's insane. All right,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pivot and just go into some other things. I know that you're also a mother, and how does how are you doing it? Because I am not. I'm a bonus mom now, and I feel like definitely this disease has robbed me of many things, and I think one of the things it's robbed me of is motherhood. And
Mm-hmm.
people want to say, no, it hasn't. Just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should to be able
Right.
to get to this place. But I am honestly, I tip my hat off to women that have chronic illnesses or diseases that we deal with, and you're still being a mother and having to show up not just for yourself, but having to show up for your children and them maybe playing a part in helping you and sometimes just feeling guilty about it. Like how is life for you as a mother, if you don't mind touching on some of those things?
So I wanna the one show that I wanna say it sucks. And this is me being transparent. One show that I wanna say it absolutely sucks. But not 100%. Like it's not the children that sucks. It's the disease. And
Yeah.
it did rob the hell out of me. It took everything. And it's like I was actually here the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I look at my kids every day and I'm like, they are getting so big. And I just feel like I'm not present. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so worried about this. And then it's like I feel like the roles have reversed and I do feel guilty and I'm scared that they're gonna resent me for this. I could be wrong because I am their mom, but just because I'm their mom doesn't mean they don't have feelings. You know what I mean? So like right now it's a little rough because I only have them to kind of lean on most of the time if mom's not here. And I find myself calling on them so much for things that I need, but also trying to parent them. For an example, my oldest daughter, she's 16, and she's the one that puts me in the bed and adjusts me at night. She's the one that bathes me and everything. She also has to be up at 6 in the morning to get ready for school. But I'm calling her cell phone at 12 in the morning, 2 in the morning because I need to be adjusted. Because when I get in the bed, however I'm placed in the bed is the way I have to stay because I can't move at all. So I'm breaking your sleep 3 times a night, two times a night. And then I'm like, hey, you need to get up on time and go to school. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm confusing her, I'm confusing myself, and I'm just like, what am I doing? It's really, really hard. I'm just scared that I'm scared that they're going to get older because like Kennedy's going to be 18 next year. I'm scared they're going to get older and kind of get tired of this and like kind of flee. I'm scared of that. I'm scared of it. I'm scared to for them to get older and talk about how they hate this disease so much because I can't help that. I literally can't. I'm doing the best I can. But back to me feeling like it sucks. It sucks because this thing is so harsh and traumatic that sometimes I can't even control my feelings. So sometimes I may have, Kennedy or Kimura stand me up and I'll just bust out crying. It's to the point now they just like, Mom, you okay? And they just kind of keep moving, but I'll just cry. I don't even have a specific reason. I'm just upset because why? I haven't been to their schools. I don't know what any of the teachers look like. Um, and then back to the guilty portion. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it, but there has been times where my daughter's friends' parents will send me photos of my daughter at an award ceremony. I didn't even see the email. I don't even know what's going on, but I'm not there. I'm never there. I'm never there. And then granted, my children are not um they're not what's the word I'm looking for? Embarrassed of my disability, or ashamed. However, there are things they do that kind of hurts my feelings. And I don't take it personal, but I get it. And for example, my younger daughter, she does not want me to come to her school. Like I will kind of joke sometimes, like I'm coming up to tomorrow, I'll be up to tomorrow. And she's like, no, no. And I'm like, why? And she's like, just no. So one day I said, are you ashamed of me? Like, why do you keep saying no? And she was like, because kids are cruel. And I'm like, you ain't gotta say anything else. So it's like these are things. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
these are things that I just can't help, and unfortunately, it's not gonna go away. It's gonna take time. It's just going to take time. So it's a battle. It's a battle because like okay, well, the masses say, oh, don't stress out. Oh, eat healthy. Oh, this and that. That stuff is easier than what you guys make it seem. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Just to think positive. Every day I wake up from dreams where I'm jumping and running around and wake up to this shit. Sorry, but so I don't know. I mean, I'm just grateful to have my girls. I think that everything happens for a reason. And my mom always say that because I had my oldest daughter at 14. I was a baby. And as I get older, well, not now, but before, I'm like, what? Like, I was so young. Like, what in the world? But I needed her. I literally needed her. Nicole, before I got sick, it was probably 2019 or 2020, one of those years. Out of nowhere, I said, you know what? you're gonna know how to drive. I said, because if anything happened to me, you need to learn how to drive. Now look, she's out grocery shopping, getting the medication. As a matter of fact, she drives to school and back. Because if anything happens, I need you to be able to leave your school. My 16-year-old, I need you to leave your school, drop what you're doing, and come back because I don't have anyone else to help me. And this goes back to the issue with the whole help thing. You know, I have to really prove it over the virtually that I need the help. It's to the point where I'm on the phone like, do you have TikTok? Because I don't know what else to tell you, ma'am. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. And then the 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 things that we go through polymyositis, it sounds crazy. It honestly, it sounds like, are you sure? Like, honestly speaking, putting myself in everyone else's shoes. If you say you can't lift your arms, I'm like, just try, just try, just try. No, we can't. There's nothing there. You know, so I'm grateful for the kids that I have because they could be children that just don't want to help. They could be like, no, because at the end of the day, what am I going to do? I can't even get up. You know, but I had to kind of get uncomfortable, and kind of get vulnerable with things. And that example would be, I'll be transparent here, getting naked. I'm not a all out there person. I like my privacy. My kids, I might do a bra and panty. I'm not doing too much. But now my child is bathing me. Like everything's out there. And it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. So now things are hitting me because I didn't really, and you said something earlier, when it comes to these caregivers, our friends, families, or whoever is there to help us, me personally, I didn't think about what they were going through. I didn't think about how this affected them. I just didn't. Like, this thing was so bad. I didn't think about Tim. I never thought about that, like, ever, which is exactly why when he said that he was overwhelmed, my first instinct was to get offended. Like, what are you mad for? He's tired. It's not only about you. So now I'm scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I don't want the girls to feel this way, and it's already starting. I'm getting like, I just want to live my life. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't want that person that takes that from you because it took it from me, it's tough. It's tough. But at the end of the day, we have to figure it out. We're figuring it out. It's a little ugly, but you just got to keep going. Like, stopping is not an option.
On the way, it's like you said, you weren't disabled before. You never, you just figure it out along the way.
Yep.
I'm glad that you have your girl, and know that children are a blessing. And I hope, you never know how they're gonna feel, but I hope they see that, wow, my mom was strong. You know what I mean? And she did what she could. And if they know if you could, you would show up.
Most definitely.
And I know that I can't even imagine like how that might hurt you. And those are things that I was, very scared of.
Yeah.
So thank you for mentioning that. All right, so I'm gonna just kind of just talk about your like providers. How is your care team? Have you had, I know that like in our community we have, it's different. You have people have had good experiences, people have bad experiences. Um, People have doctors that don't believe them when, when they're talking about their symptoms. How has your experience been with specialists and kind of your journey with polymyositis?
Honestly speaking, I think so far so good. I think the only negative that came out of this was probably myself, because I went through a phase where I'm like, I don't want to take this medicine no more. I ain't taking none of it. I don't want to take it. It's nasty. I'm sick of it. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. But when it comes to my care team, my rheumatologist, my primary, I have no issues at all. And I honestly think that it sounds crazy, but it's like, I feel like me being this way physically does kind of help, because it's like, how are you not going to listen? Like, look at me. Like, are you going to say I'm lying? You can see it, So I don't have, a lot of times I don't have to say anything. They see it. It shows, so that's good, and I kind of feel bad because there are a lot of folks out here that may not be as physically, impaired as I am, but that doesn't mean they're not feeling the feels though. But they look fine. I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine that. I don't go through that issue,
Yeah.
luckily.
Well, that's good. Because again, like everybody's experience is different.
Hmm.
And um I even with mine, I would say yes, there were, maybe some providers that I necessarily didn't agree with, but I have to say at the same time, I was blessed
Hmm.
came to, even a doctor just saying, like, listen, I think you need to come out of this health system so that you can go somewhere where they're going to help you. And
Hmm.
I'm glad that she said that to me because if she didn't say that to me, I probably would have stayed right there. She didn't have to say anything. She could have just come, I could have kept coming back and forth where, and, never got to a point where I am now. And I
Hmm.
feel like I've had an amazing team and even transitioning here to Texas, that was a big worry of mine. Like, oh my gosh, I've been with my team for years. You kind of feel like they're when you do have a chronic illness, I feel like they're like our family. I've cried
Yeah.
times in the doctor's office, and they know so much about you, not just the health, but like how it impacts you in so many different ways. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like they're an extended family. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to kind of hear of, that you've had a good experience because I do see a lot of bashing and I don't for one, I think that you should, talk about your experience, even if it has been negative.
Hmm.
But it's sometimes like for me, I feel like sometimes I wonder when you do see people that have just recently been diagnosed and they're kind of like looking for help. And then they're just like, oh my God, like all I'm seeing is this negativity. So you kind of
Yeah.
go with thinking like automatically, like no one's gonna help me. I'm never gonna find a specialist that's going to like work with me. Um, okay, so kind of coming down like your social media, you have been very open. You're on Instagram, you're on TikTok. Have you had people that you feel like you've helped along the way? I feel like, you and I even connected on social media and I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that we connected and I get to that point where sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'll be honest with you. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know. Or I don't
Yeah.
got or I don't want to talk about it.
Hmm.
I deal with it every day, so why I gotta talk about it?
Right. Right. Right.
So I ghost. And then
Hmm.
I see people like you know what I mean? And I get connected and sometimes it just like brings me back. How do you feel that community has helped you as far as dealing with it, even dealing with your rough moments? Have you felt like you have has it helped you, has it impacted your life in a positive way?
It has.
Yeah.
Social media has always been like a therapeutic thing for me. Like everyone has their own experiences or whatever, but that's just like one of my things. Excuse me. I'm very open and transparent because it's my life and it's my story and only I can tell it, and that's the best part about it. When I was freshly diagnosed and I just kind of like skimmed on TikTok and on YouTube or whatever, I didn't see many people that look like me with polymyositis at all. Like I
Mhm.
was like, "Are you guys sure I have that?"
Mhm.
I was like, "Yeah, you guys are right." So my biggest thing, one, because you hit this earlier, one, with being transparent and open, I've created, my own little community, so there are things I may get online and say, or just kind of vent about that I'm not even thinking about in a community to come back with resources and ideas. I'm like, oh, that's great. So that definitely does help me. And then I'm also getting people around the world, no, around the country, sorry, around the country and in different countries too, that has reached out to me on social media. Excuse me, even in different languages. Like I have to go on Google Translate and like, what is this? And they're like, hi, I'm so and so, I have myositis too. And I'm like, what? So I kind of turn into the person I was looking for other people. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. There are so many messages that say, hey, I typed in myositis and you came up. I like that. So just want people to know that you're not alone. It's okay. And you know what? You don't have to share. But as long as you see me and you know that you're not fighting by yourself, you're not by yourself, that's all I want for myself and for others. and it's working so far.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you know, if somebody came across your time, one of your social media pages, and they're like newly diagnosed, what advice would you recommend them? If they were, they're in your shoes, or they're in similar shoes right now.
To be honest with you, I would hate for somebody newly diagnosed to look at my page right now. But if I had to give someone newly diagnosed any advice, it would be to listen to your care team. That would be the first thing I would say. Because we don't know it all. You think you know it all. You think you know what's best for you. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. So that would be probably the very first piece of advice I give anyone.
Yeah.
Just like give it some time to work or not work, but don't just give up because you feel that's not smart. That's the one thing I'll definitely give out.
I think that's really good advice, because I think that that's not what you hear all the time. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? Despite, despite, I always feel like you have to try to, at least I try to find a silver lining in everything. Not maybe in everything but I try, but like outside of this, what brings Krystle joy? What brings you happiness? It could be something simple.
To be completely honest, what brings me happiness is the mobility that I do have. I mean, I don't really do much. So it's like the fact, I mean, I have to get picked up out of the chair, but I can walk. It's slow, but I can move. I can still, reach for things. There's still something there.
Yeah.
That's probably the most thing, that, and then being alive. It sounds cliche, but I
No,
mean,
no,
yeah, I said it earlier. I'm like, yeah, I have these dreams where I'm running and jumping and I just wake up. And that's true. But I wake up though. Like
yes.
every single day is a different day, is a new day, another chance for better, for improvement. So that's actually two things: waking up, getting alive, and the mobility that I do have left.
Yeah. I think you're right when you say, it's cliche to say, to wake up. But I feel like there's been, there's past year, everybody's not on the wake up list. And so
Right.
it's cliche. And it's a blessing to still be able to get up and rise. I think that one of the things that I think you could totally agree with me, especially when you were born with the illness, is that you appreciate life much more. You realize
Yeah.
how fast like things can change.
Oh, yeah.
And like I truly look at life in a completely different lens. It's humbled the mess out of me.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you this one thing, Nicole.
Yeah.
I do. One thing I do when I do get out the house, whenever I'm out the house, you know how like when you're in the car and you just look at the trees and stuff like that. I look at people a lot. I
Mhm.
just look at people. I look at little kids, and I get emotional sometimes. I'm just like, I'm just so glad that you guys are able to do this, But I look at people, the littlest things. Like
Yes, yes. It's
that's. I mean,
like it's funny because I'm a person that I like to go to concerts, and I would go to concerts with my girlfriend, and I would just be like, oh my gosh, they're lifting up their arms and they're clapping. I'm
that's
like,
crazy.
able to do that in so long. It's the smallest thing um that people take for granted
Hmm.
that you're not able to do. And it literally brings you to tears.
It does. It does.
I
Yes.
don't take life for granted anymore, and waking up is a blessing.
Definitely.
Um, Before we close, just looking ahead, what are your plans? What are your aspirations outside of, trying to make yourself get better? Like, what does Krystle want to do? Anything else that you want to like just share in general?
Excuse me. There's a few things that I want to do. Like you said, I definitely want to get better. I want to become, and everyone's different, but I personally want to become a full-time influencer. I see myself in the gym making different juices, making healthy meals, and showing it on camera, and doing exercises in my house. I like to share. That's what I want to do. Um, in a perfect world, I would not have 9 to 5. I mean, I'm grateful for it and I'm blessed for it, and I actually enjoy what I do. But being down like this for so long, I know that once I get the muscle back, I don't want. I want to go out and do stuff. Like, I mean, I could run in a circle or something. I don't want to work. But yeah, I definitely want to become an influencer. I definitely want to write a book. I think that everyone should write a book, at least one book, because again, this is
Yeah.
our story. No one else could tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. So I definitely want to write a book. Um, and I want to travel the world. I
Yeah.
want to travel. I've never been beyond the east side or out of the DMV area really. I want to travel with my kids. I want to show my kids the world. We, yeah. So definitely to traveling, the influencer, and the book. Those are my top 3 things.
Well, I could see all those things happening.
Me too. It's gonna happen.
I can see it. And just to let you know, I feel like when we met, even though you're going through it right now, there's a breakup, it's frustration, your kids. I felt like you were in a darker place like a year ago.
Yeah.
I remember, just conversations and just things that you were saying. You were just really, I don't know if that was your rock bottom, but it was in a good place. And I remember like, in some of, in groups that we were in where people were giving you advice and
Yep.
you just, I remember just feeling your frustration. I'm like, I've been there. Like I've been there where she is. I used to have so many rants. And the one that got the burnt of my rants was my mom. You know what I mean? Like I really didn't rant to anybody else. I just ranted to her. So she's the one that got the thick of it. But
Hmm.
I feel like there's been a lot of growth.
Oh yeah. Mentally, definitely.
There's been a lot of growth with you. And it's a beautiful thing to see because I was just like, you have it's like you have to your process is going to look different from mine and you really wanted to learn, you were asking, but it was just like when I look at you and I'm just like, wow, like she came a long way. And
Thank
people
you.
probably don't that probably see you now and they may see like like you just said a little while ago, like I don't know if I want them to see my page now, but I'm like,
Yeah.
you would have seen like maybe some posts from like a year ago, it was worse.
Yeah.
Has been a lot of improvement that I have seen, and I have missed a lot. Like I'm not in your shoes, so I don't see everything, but I have seen the growth over the past year just with you in general, and it's a beautiful thing. And you did participate. We do in the group. We do this Secret Santa, and when I was so happy when I got you, I was like, oh,
I know. I'm like, it's crazy.
I was happy when I got you, and I was just like, I was supposed to get her. And like how you said, you to do the workout and all the other stuff. So, when I looked at your list, it just made me smile. And you know, um, I will be praying for you. And I pray that, the things that you want are attainable. And it's sometimes it just takes us a lot longer to get there, but I feel like you're gonna get there and you're gonna have a book. And it's
Yeah.
going to be amazing to read your story because that's going to help somebody else.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to close out, but unless you have anything else to say, in general, I know that you did have a GoFundMe. I believe you
Yeah. I put one for.
find you on social media. What are your social media names? Um, any of those things, your GoFundMe, like where can we find that link and your social media pages that you would like people to find you? I'm also going to make sure that I post them and have them under the video.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook at Krystle Irby, TikTok and Instagram at IAmKrystleIrby. So IAmKrystleIrby.
The link is on your page. Okay.
Everything. Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Krystle. Thank you
You,
for
Nicole.
allowing me to share your story. And I know that we are, about to be in May and it's about to be myositis month. And so
Yeah.
it's a great time. So glad that we connected and, thank you for allowing me to, thank you for even just like tugging on me because sometimes like I be needing y'all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Thank you so much. And stay tuned.
Thank you, Nicole.